Hi, welcome back. This time on Spongin' Works, I'm going to turn these rusty railroad spikes and this weathered wood into this rustic wine rack. Take that, Elmer Fudd. Stick around. If you're a wine drinker, you may know that storing wine long term is best when the bottles are about at a 5-degree downward angle. This keeps the cork moist so the wine isn't exposed to air, thus causing it to spoil. You can make a rack to store bottles vertically, but it should only really be done with champagne or sparkling wine, if it's not made in the Champagne region of France. This rack is made to hold 4 bottles and can accommodate bottles that are about 3.5 inches in diameter. Let me show you how I made it now. I'm starting with these old boards I found while walking my dog, Koa. I thought they looked great with the gray patina, so I'm going to preserve that look as much as possible. There are some knots and splits that I will incorporate into the rack, so I have to pick out 4 boards to start. The first order of business is to remove all the staples and any screws from the boards. I'm using a pair of needle nose pliers and a wrench to act as a fulcrum to pry off, as I don't want to dent the wood. This is like pulling teeth, which, by the way, is easy for a dentist. To remove any screws, I use a pair of vice grips to grab the head and rotate the screw out. Discard all that junk. Now I need to clean the surface to remove any dirt. I'm using a nylon brush for this. You could use a wire brush, but I choose nylon as I don't want to lose any of the natural patina. Because the boards are weathered, they don't have any straight edges for tight joints, and they need cleaning as well. I'm using an old Stanley Bedrock 606 4-plane to joint these boards. I wanted this panel to have reasonably tight joints, so I joint 2 joining edges together so both edges will match for the glue up. I make several passes until the plane is removing material from both edges. You can see how the edges join up tightly now. I continue this process for all joining edges. Let's talk glue. This is polyurethane glue. It has a fast drying time and is very strong, but is very sticky and foams a lot. It's a good glue for joining mixed materials, but not my choice for this project. Enter polyvinyl acetate, or PVA glue. This glue, such as Titebond, will dry fast, cleans up with water, but isn't water resistant. It is the natural choice for the avid woodworker. Another type of PVA glue is Titebond 2 or Titebond 2 Extend. I like the extended version as it has a longer working time for tricky glue ups. This glue offers a better water resistance and a strong bond. The last type of PVA glue is Titebond 3. This glue is used mostly for outdoor applications as it has exceptional water resistance and a strong bond. It also has a reputation for staining joint lines. A word of caution though, if glue dries on the cap, be careful when opening the bottle as the dried glue can have sharp edges and easily cause cuts. Don't ask how I know this. My glue of choice for this project and most projects that I make is old brown glue. It cleans up with water, it spreads nicely and doesn't stain the wood, and it can be reactivated with heat if a piece needs repair. Once the glue is dried, I scrape it away and prepare for a light coat of finish. I'm using a waterborne finish as it offers quick drying time and close to the wood protection. Just apply it with a foam brush and then wipe the excess off with a clean cloth. Now it's time to choose the railroad spikes to support the wine bottles. These can be picked up at nearly any antique shop or salvage yard in mass quantities. To make the spikes usable for the rack, they've needed to be prepared. You can see how I did that in a previous video. I am choosing to leave them rusty, as it will only add charm to the piece. To mark the location of the first spike, I ground the head off of a bolt to form a slight point. I use a square to keep the spikes in line. Once both spike locations were marked, I made the points more visible with a white pencil and then drilled a small through hole to mark the location on the back for the counter bore. This recess will allow the bolt to sit under the surface of the rack, so it can be mounted to the wall without interference. I then drill a hole large enough for the 1/4-20 bolt to fit into, and then flip the panel over to screw on the railroad spikes. When the spikes are almost in contact with the panel, I hang the panel off the table so the spikes stay in the proper orientation and then tighten the bolts. Then it's just rinse and repeat. The bottle rests on the railroad spikes in an alternating fashion as shown. That's all there is to it. If you like the concept of using railroad spikes as a feature in a wine rack, or any other use for that matter, please feel free to use the tips that I showed on how to drill and tap railroad spikes to accept a bolt. This opens up a whole new world for these old rusty pieces of metal you might have lying around. If you like this idea, but you don't want to build the rack yourself, you can purchase this very rack. I'm listing this rack on eBay, and 100% of the profits will go to benefit Paws to Care, Inc. Paws to Care Incorporated is a 501c3 certified nonprofit pet therapy organization dedicated to bringing comfort, care, and hope to kids battling cancer, kids living with special needs, and wounded warriors and their children. You can learn more about the work Paws to Care does and watch interviews and news specials by going to their website, pawstocare.org. That's PAWS, the numeral 2, CARE.org. Click the link in the description below to go directly to the eBay listing. This is a nice way to get a great item and to give to a terrific cause. It was great for you to see me. Thanks for watching.